What's going on, folks? Eddie here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, I want to show you what my car is like. Originally, I was planning on showing you the dyno session for this car, but the reality is, I wanted to give John a couple days before we went back to working on my car. I put John behind in his work by like a week and a half. I'm actually heading down there today as soon as I'm done recording this, and next Friday, you're gonna get to see some dyno sessions. If you keep an eye on my social media, you'll probably get a few dropped hints and a few videos of the car on the dyno before that video drops. And naturally, make sure you're subscribed here and the notification bells hit. That way, when these videos do drop, you're getting them right away. Anyhow, so the car is currently just on a bass tune. What that means is the car is on a break-in tune. Now, it's been on a break-in tune for the last week, and the whole purpose of doing this is to make sure that the engine settles correctly after being freshly built. There's a couple things that happen in a brand new engine. When the car first went on the dyno, sound. The car didn't want to make any power yet. It was running into knock issues. What that was just a lot of noise from a forged engine whose rings hadn't settled yet. So the car got left at about 12 PSI, making right around 200 horsepower. At peaks around 14, but 12 sustained. So the way you're about to see the car is on 12 PSI. And we want to dial it to 30. Let's give it a little bit of throttle and see how she does. Throttle response is pretty much instantaneous. Considering the size of the turbo, that's really surprising. Now, I say instantaneous, and I'm only referring to anything north of 3K. Let's be realistic, it is still a larger turbo, so it is not gonna spool at like 1500 RPM like the stock turbo. Now, losing that low down 1000 RPM of uselessness that no one that's driving a turbocharged car should ever be doing anyways, you don't really notice. That's the takeaway. So while it may have lag now, for the areas that you always floor your car, you'll never notice it. When it got off the dyno, it was right about 200 horsepower for its break-in tune. Now it's only running about 12 PSI. That's not a lot of boost for this turbo. We haven't even entered the efficiency range. I find it mildly amusing that this car is already at that 200 horsepower mark for break-in. So once we start dialing it in, we're going to set an aim for about 300 horsepower. I want to have about 320, 330 horsepower for a daily drivable tune in this car. On pump gas, that's it. But the thing we haven't really talked about is what happens when we go to E85. From my experience moving over to E85, there's a lot that's possible. That stuff is incredibly efficient at making power, and you know, when you're running a higher compression engine, getting that additional knock protection is probably not a bad idea. That's the one thing that we did here that's the opposite of most boosted applications. We went slightly higher compression. Now the reason higher compression was selected was the size of the engine and the issue of spool that's on an engine this size. So as far as how the car drives, well, it feels pretty much the same as it always did. It's now pretty much on par with where the black car was before John started dialing it in on E85. And you know, that's actually a really good spot to be if this was a daily driver, something that I was just going to bring to work and back. You know, 200 horsepower at the ground is probably pretty good. Now there's the rough part. I'm only guessing, so 200 is where we left it off, but the turbo's been breaking in, the engine's been breaking in, and the car started getting faster about halfway through my drive back from seeing John. I'm not complaining about it getting faster, that's for sure. The one part that some of you have noticed that didn't go in the car while we were working on this was a camshaft. There's a reason for that. John and I want to see how far the stock cam will go first before moving into an aftermarket camshaft. Knowing the limitations of a stock part, maybe it's not beneficial and adds time and work to this build, but at least the community gets to know what this thing can do. You know, it's by trial and error that you see what a car is capable of. We know that the intercooler pipes on one of these is capable of hitting about 240, 250 horsepower minimum. That's what we hit last time on the black one. The intercooler pipes gave us absolutely no trouble. The only thing that we changed was we put a new core on, and that new core had different connections on it. Those connections, they are a bit weak, but the rest of the pipes, they will hold. One thing you folks didn't see is John made a cold side pipe for this car. So I have 2.5 inch cold side piping on the car right now, and one of the main reasons that was done was we really needed a place to put the blow-off valve. So the car is back on a TurboSmart blow-off valve. This time it's a V-Port Pro. We have it kind of down in the bumper on the cold side pipes. Now it's connected the same way that my last setup was done, using a forge actuator. Kevin, thank you for the hookup on the forge actuator. I didn't really want to buy a full blow-off valve kit, so that's excellent. Thank you very much. I drove the car like that with that rowdy exhaust for about 2 days. So those of you that followed the VI videos, I knew that the car was going to be a bit loud for a couple days. So I actually peeled my VI sticker off, and I've made an appointment to have the vehicle inspection done again. Now, I know I'll pass again. I'm not really concerned whatsoever. That's only to tide me over. Once all the little pieces are complete on this car, I'm having it engineered. That's the process of submitting your car to an engineer's inspection. The whole point of that is to ensure the car is up to safety standards for the road. So I know that the car is safe, I have no concerns, but in order to maintain the legality of the vehicle, I'm gonna have it engineered. And this was one of the stumbling blocks and one of the questions for the QV swap as well. That's gonna be engineered as well. Now you're probably asking yourself, why am I talking about engineering two separate cars? Well, that's because I'm looking for a second 124. What happened is I've fallen in love with the spool up from this turbo, and when I got really frustrated and said let's do a QV swap, it was because I didn't want to have to deal with a really laggy turbo on a 1.4 engine. And I wasn't convinced I was going to be able to get a turbo on the car that wouldn't be laggy. Turns out it's not the case. So at this moment, I'm looking for a second 124, and we're going to be doing a QV swap as well. I don't want to give up the built engine, and I don't want to give up doing the QV swap, so we're going to have two 124s on the channel. Every video, I get multiple people asking about the QV swap. And, the reality is I'm just going to keep pointing you back here. It's coming. We won't abandon it. The concept of having that engine in a 124 is something I'm not willing to let go of. Are you kidding me? Like, this built engine stuff is really cool, but quite frankly, the QV stuff's gonna be a million times better. All right, folks, I'll see you on Friday when we hit the dyno and see just how much power this car is gonna make on pump gas. This is only gonna be the pump gas tune you're watching next time. We will go after E85 in this thing, because 300's not enough. All right, folks, later.